Everybody, it's June 19th. So it's basically exactly 1 month after my birthday. I'd like to take this opportunity to catch people up who haven't been necessarily watching the documentary, to give you an idea of what's taken place. That way, you don't necessarily have to go back and watch everything. It all started back in the beginning of January when my ex tried to destroy my tattooing business, and she was pretty successful at it. She hacked into my accounts and did things that were pretty horrendous. But I refused to get angry with her. I refused to fight back dirty. I understood that the reason why she did it was because she was hurting. You know, and it's totally justified. I don't blame the hurt that she carries around and the hatred towards the world that she carries around, because her childhood was extremely negative, the worst you could imagine. Anyways, after she had done, trying to destroy my business and keep deleting my accounts, blocking my clients, sending nudies of myself, anything she could to try to hurt me, I just kept showing her more and more grace. I refused to cast any negative upon her. Then I all of a sudden realized, as days progressed, that my mind was transitioning. My mind was realizing that there's more to life than all the negative that we keep in our memories. My mind was beginning to gain more and more consciousness. I know this is going to sound unbelievable, but my mind was opening up. I was expanding beyond the 10% that's generally accepted that a human uses of their brain. I kept expanding it because every single negative memory that I went through, I found a positive in it. And as soon as I found a positive in the negative memory, it went away and it opened up another door. And as I, let's say metaphorically, walked through that door in my brain, I gained more and more knowledge, more knowing. I started feeling things through my body, feeling basically electricity all over my entire body, as if I had severe goosebumps, but yet my skin wasn't responding. My ears started ringing when I came into a meditative state. Pretty much at any given point, I can switch into a meditative state. My ears would begin to ring as soon as I'd switch over. I later realized that that's when I was truly receiving some of the best knowing and some of the most intense. Now, don't think that this has been show and glory by any means. This has been by far the absolute hardest thing I've ever done in my entire existence, if you will. I knew things I shouldn't know. I started knowing dates I shouldn't know, as the world would consider. I started understanding what it all meant. And simply because I started being able to recognize all the lies in the world. I started deciphering the Bibles because every single statement can be said positive. And the only truths in this world are positive. All the negatives, I realized, are lies. The negative memories that we keep in our brain are lies that we're keeping because, unfortunately, and as hard as it is to say this, we're lying to ourselves and we're feeling sorry for ourselves. So I proceeded to do the documentary. I initially thought I would have a plan, I'd have a script, so on and so on. And then I honestly just came into the knowing that no, I needed to be raw. I needed to be transparent. I needed to be 100% truthful. I needed to try to connect with everybody in the world because, as much as you don't want to believe it, I love everybody in the world. Why do I love everybody in the world, and how can I say I love everybody in the world? Well, that's simply because I love myself unconditionally, undeservingly. I look at what I've achieved in my life, and it has been incredibly honorable, if you will, if you compare it to the average human. I don't carry any ego for it because I now understand the reason why I went through every single thing I had to go through in my life was because it prepared me for who I am now. I had to experience all the negative vibrations in the world for me to truly be able to find all the positive. Once I started clearing the negative out of my brain, I started noticing that when I would talk to people, I would instantly hear their lies. When I heard their lies, I would start knowing their secrets. I would start knowing what they don't know. And in essence, I would start gaining their knowledge of what they do know. And since I knew what their lies were and what the truths were, I guess you could say I ended up knowing twice as much. I then proceeded to take a lie detector test because my family members, the people that were closest to me, didn't believe me. They thought that I was having PTSD or mental illness or whatever. But unfortunately, none of them asked me. None of them said, "Hey Trent, are you doing okay? Do you think maybe you should talk to somebody?" I started my documentary and it progressed tremendously. What progressed the most though was the negativity my family started casting upon me. I know they feel they did everything they could to try to help me. And I understand that way of thinking. I just also know that that's incredibly negative. That's the worst way to look at something like this. This has been the absolute most beautiful transition I could have possibly have gone through. It was horrible. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Physically, I experienced physical things that, shoot, at one point I thought I was dying. I sat on the toilet and out of both ends, blood came out. Just once, just a little bit. Then I laid back down on my bed and I meditated. And then all of a sudden, I felt this tremendous tingle all over my body. And for some reason I knew that I was beginning to gain control of my body. I started meditating more, and then the idea came to me, hey, I wonder if I could catch something on my thermal monocular. The same thermal monocular I used in Ukraine that saved my life. I figured, what the heck, I'll go ahead and record myself, see if my body temperature changes at all when I'm meditating. I did, and my dog Caesar at one point thought I was dead, and he started whining, and he came up and nudged me. If you do go back and look at the thermal imaging, you'll see at the point when I turn and look away and get up, and all the energies back in my body. You see the first ever recorded soul literally leaving a body and re-entering. It took about 10 days for me to even realize I had that. I was skeptical of even showing it to anybody. The first ones I showed it to was my father and his wife. I explained to them that I explained a lot. And in their defense, I explained too much. I dumped too much on them too quick, and it made them switch into defense mode. It made their brain work at trying to find something wrong with me. Their brains didn't think, oh my gosh, he's finally becoming one with his God. What an amazing spiritual experience, if you want to look at it from a religious perspective. What an enlightenment, if you want to look at it from a Buddhist perspective. Wow, I found my Zen. If you want to look at it from a spiritual perspective, not only have I gained full spectrum consciousness, I know that the person who wrote the definitions of consciousness was not fully conscious. How do I know that pretty much everything has a little lie in it? Because I'm fully conscious in a way that you can't comprehend. I don't think it's something that should be worshipped by any means. Because honestly, I don't really even want anybody to know who I am anymore. All I want to do is go around and try to wake people up. I want to give people unconditional, undeserving love when nobody else in the world will. I have allowed my family and my community to strip me of everything. I've done a crucifixion representation, which everybody wanted to see it as suicide, even though I clearly stated I would never harm myself nor anybody else. But everybody, especially the professionals, saw what they wanted to see. They saw the negative, not all the positive that was in it. Then, that also in the same time frame, and I don't want to get into specifics because I'm done focusing on all the negative. But in the same time frame, my family pulled together, as well as the one person in this world I truly had given unconditional and deserving love to for the first time. They planned an illegal mental health assessment. And unfortunately, Samaritan Health Services walked right into it. They saw exactly what they wanted to see. They literally violated every single one of my rights when they know, hands down, they broke the law. Nobody in the world has the right to force a mental health assessment on you unless it's court ordered, and you have to have a history of mental illness, being a threat to someone else or yourself, which I clearly stated, and they clearly stated that by no means I had. So, because I wasn't fully awake until my birthday on May 19th, I kept feeling that I needed to prove myself. I needed to defend myself. I felt I needed the police department to verify who I am, to verify that I was only telling the truth and that every single thing I was saying was the truth. I felt that I needed to go up against Samaritan Health Services to get them to wake up and take back the mental health assessment, because it's garbage. It doesn't even mean anything. They didn't even pull a urinalysis. But yet Samaritan Health Services won't even remotely admit their wrongs. They are standing strongly even though they know I have rock solid evidence that they're lying. But yet they still stand behind that the mental health assessment was on my approval. Even though the release form I wrote on there, I did not approve this. Now, isn't that interesting? But hey, down the road, I'm sure Samaritan Health Services is going to come around, or they'll be out of business. Plain and simple. I don't want either. You know, I don't want to have to speak with them. But the only way they're going to be able to clear their name, and the only way they're going to be able to retract their lies, is if we see each other. If they're willing to finally put this to rest and quit lying. Corvallis Police Department. I feel sorry for you guys, I honestly do. I know every single police officer that has dealt with me has got to be thinking, what in the heck? What if I am telling the truth? And you guys know you do not have one single bit of evidence to prove that I'm not telling the truth. And you know I have a tremendous amount of evidence proving that I am. This isn't planned out, just like the room I happen to get tonight because I've been on the road. I've been sleeping in my car. I've been roughing it, and I knew I needed to post again. I was feeling guilty that I hadn't given an update. You know, I realize probably nobody in the world is truly listening to what I'm saying, but I gave a commitment in the very beginning, and I'm going to stick to it to my death. And that is to do everything I can to help everybody in the world begin to wake up. Because I know the time is running out really quick. Yes, you could say grandiose delusion, Dana. You could say mania. You could say what the heck ever you want. You could throw every single mental health issue at me. And hey, I'll agree except for one thing. All of it is positive. That's the only thing I'm willing to accept. That's the only thing I'm willing to do. You guys have seen that I can find all lies. I've even shown you that I can see through your eyes. But that doesn't matter. You cannot force anybody to listen that doesn't want to listen. I'll show you what I've been up to. The time on the road started off as soon as my house closed. I continued to work on, we'll call it the trailer for now. I knew what I needed to do. I needed to create kind of like a survival trailer that under any conditions I knew I could survive and help other people survive, even if the grid goes down. Plus I needed a way to protect. So I started in. Now realize, this is just a little bit of a month ago. And I'll show you what I've created and where I've been. Now don't worry, by the time you watch this video, I'm long gone out of that area. One thing my family and one thing my community has taught me is that when you know more than other people, you need to not stay around in one area very long, and you need to stay away from people because you cannot trust them. They will do anything they can to prove that you're lying, because that's the only way their brain can accept the fact of what I'm saying. The average brain switches into defense mode, and it will find a reason to dislike what I say. I understand. I don't hold it against anybody. Actually, I feel sorry for you guys. But, so, as soon as I sold my house and closed on it, the first 2 nights, I was in Walmart. No, not Walmart. The closed theater in Corvallis parking lot. And I was working on my trailer there very carefully, because we all know you can't park overnight anywhere anymore without getting in trouble or getting harassed. But I continued, I worked on it. And once I got it to the point where I felt comfortable emptying out my storage unit, I did. I went over, I emptied out my storage unit and kept only the things that my heart told me I should hang on to. And then I headed to BLM. This is a picture of when I was at BLM. That's how my camp was set up. I chose an area that I knew nobody else would want. I chose an area that had empty ammunition shells all over the place. Why? Because I didn't want to bother anybody. I didn't want to offend anybody. I just wanted to be able to do what I need to do. And I'm doing it all out of love for other people, not myself. You look here. There's no comfort. My comfort is the tent on top of the trailer. This is as I started moving south in Oregon. This mirror image thing is annoying. That's what the trailer looked like as I begun. Then I found an RV park, because working off of generators and being in the middle of nowhere in the woods at night, the fact of not knowing if a mountain lion or something staring at your back of your skull, and I happen to have the cerebellum tattooed on the back of my head, and my head is bald, and they tend to pounce on you from the back and sink their fangs in your cerebellum so that you instantly become paralyzed. And then they drag you off to their young so their young can eat on you. You know, I didn't like my story ending that way. So I headed in, I found an RV park. The RV park initially happened kind of, I knew it was going to happen. The police were called on me, I think the second night. But that became an amazing experience. I actually consider the park my friends now. I stayed there for 3 weeks. 2.5 weeks to 3. Working my tail off from sunrise to sunset. Doing everything I possibly could not to bother anybody, not to create any noise that would be annoying. Fortunately, right beside the RV park happened to be a bunch of commercial buildings going in, all out of metal. So those guys made me look really good. They were cutting and making tremendous noise way early in the hour and late at night. People started liking me more. I talked to majority of the residents at the RV park. There's a older couple in their 70s that I truly consider them some of my closest family. The gentleman, when he heard that the police had been called on me, he said, "No, this isn't right. We need to remember how to love." And he went and talked to the owners and got it approved to where I could move into a different location and I could work and be left alone. And they did. Nobody said anything negative to me. Everybody was incredibly positive. And that gentleman, if you ever do watch, you know who I'm talking about? Thank you, brother. You have no idea how much you mean to me. So, as I progressed along, this is how much stuff I had in an RV park, and that was the main reason why I got the police called on me, was because they were afraid that I was a hoarder or something like that, which I respect. Hey, you know, how many people pull up to an RV park to work on a solar trailer with a tent on top and about $50,000 worth of stuff out in front of it unlocked up? If I was him, I'd be concerned too. But it all ended up being positive. I proceeded on. This is the initial stages. You can see my tent on top. You can see me beginning to get the solar panels on. Then I started building, sorry, it's backwards. Started building the stage up top because I plan on at some point giving live performances, DJs, and you'll notice where I created solar panel racks to where in the evening the solar panels become the guardrails and the DJ desk, if you were, or platform. You notice the all aluminum part at the back. I added on a bathroom and a solar headquarters that controls all the 10,000 amp hours of lithium ion batteries, 7,000 watts worth of generator power, and so on. Now keep in mind, look at that door, that new door added in the aluminum part. Look how flat and how it lines up perfectly. I had no flat surfaces to work on. I had nothing. I had virtually had zero experience welding aluminum. Wow, that's interesting. And that's kind of my heartbeat that's going right now. But anyway, I had no flat surfaces to work on, didn't really have anything to square by, virtually zero experience. When I walked into the metal supply place, by the way, Coyote Steel, thank you guys. You don't know how much it meant to me, how well you guys treated me. You might not feel that you did anything above and beyond, but I assure you, you did. Thank you, brothers. But I continued to build this trailer, not having a plan, not having a sketch. Go into the Coyote Steel. I didn't even know what materials I needed. So I just said, hey, give me 20-foot chunks of 1x2 1/8-inch rectangular tubing. When it was all said and done, I only had 1.5 feet left over. And I didn't build taking into account how much material I had. I just did, out of the knowing. I bought self-tapping stainless screws. I just said, hey, give me 500 of them. I put the very last one in the door to secure it for transport. Things are happening that are way more than coincidence. If you research, you'll find out that someone who is full spectrum conscious can begin to manifest anything they desire. But I'm not concentrating on manifesting what I desire. Notice, I'm alone. Do I enjoy being alone? No. Would I love to have a companion? Absolutely. But I know that's not what's in my journey right now. I know what I have to do with my whole entire being. But moving back to the trailer, here's another picture of it so you guys can see. Realize how quickly I built that. Here's a look of the inside. It's bulletproof, it's fireproof, it has tremendous sound deadening, it's waterproof, and it wasn't before. It was just a Wells Cargo utility trailer with nothing in it. Realize how quickly. Another picture of it. The large monitor is for the 8 cameras. Small monitors for the documentary. Anyway, I decided to call the main part of the trailer the Ark. The small part of the trailer, the House of Truths. Why the House of Truths? Because the only thing that's going to happen in that trailer is me giving love, whether it be through the documentary or whether it be giving free tattoos to people who need it. The Ark, because we all need to wake up. Otherwise, I feel we're all going to be drowning before you know it. Anybody who is even partially awake knows that something's going on. Something is changing in the world. We're imploding. Look on YouTube. You'll see Russian fleet off our coast, the largest since the Cold War era. Chinese fleet around Hawaii. Sure, you can say it's a conspiracy theory, or you can wake up and realize the truth is in front of you. Literally. You know, you've seen my appearance change tremendously through this documentary, rather quickly. Look at my beard. Look back. How long ago did I not have any facial hair? There isn't one single thing you should be looking at. You should be looking at it all. You know, look at the background here. Kind of ironic that the motel room that I got has that huge portrait on the wall, and it has some of the most definition I've seen of a black and white print. It's ironic that it's a church. Could be very confrontational. Now, you want to see something even more amazing? Do yourself a favor and zoom in. Look at the trees in the background. Look at the grass or the sage. Relax your eyes and watch the branches move. If you stare really closely, you will see as if the wind is gently blowing through the landscape. And I assure you, it's not digital. I'm not playing any tricks. Here, look. That's literally just a print on the wall. And that happens to be the print that I get in a motel room exactly 1 month after my birthday. And the branches are moving. If you don't believe me, zoom in on the trees in the background and watch closely, you will see them very subtly moving. You guys, I can't make this stuff up. I know all of this is way too hard to understand. I know that majority of your brains can't handle it and you prefer to stay in the illusion. Shoot, at times, just coming into knowing, I've dry heaved because it's mind-blowing, to be honest. Think about it. You have more firing neurons in your brain than there are stars and planets in the galaxy. Wake up, people. Where do you think your energy is coming from? It's coming from your God within you, and we're all connected. Speaking of all connected, right before I left that RV park, I took the Ark and the House of Truths on a test drive. And I put a lot of additional work to try to reinforce the frame because aluminum bends and flexes a lot, more than I anticipated. So I rigited it up so that I could, so in essence it would quit flapping its wings as I'm going down the road. And I'm talking from front to back, not side to side. Not a very comforting feeling. So I went on my second test drive after I reinforced it. And I still didn't like it. I still didn't feel that it was roadworthy. When I pulled back in, I felt that, oh my gosh, have I made a mistake? Am I crazy like my family and like other people have tried to make me feel? Am I lost? So I stopped and I'm standing around looking around the RV park and I'm thinking, I, for the first time, am idle since I started waking up. I didn't know what to do. Then all of a sudden this SUV, 4Runner, stops and the window goes down and this attractive woman yells out, "What are you guys staring at?" Initially it almost seemed aggressive, but then I could tell by her smile that it wasn't, and we started communicating. Later that evening I went over and had a very, very deep conversation with her. She happens to be going through a lot of parallels of what I had just gone through. I let her read my journal. I read her journal. I happen to have some insight for her that I gave her. And you know what? While I was out in BLM land, I just, because of Lindsay Sterling, amazing, amazing artist, I just felt that I needed to get, for some reason, a digital violin. And I figured, it's got to have headphones or something that I could plug in and not bother people. Because when you're in a situation like mine, you really do not want to bother anybody. Because simply talking can make people start turning against you. Look at Corvallis Police Department. Look at the state of Oregon. Look at my family, my own children. The woman that I've loved more than anybody in the world. So I think it should be understandable that you start becoming a little more and more secretive. I mentioned to her that I think I'm going to go into town and I'm going to buy a digital violin. And I said also too, what I really want to find is I want to find like Jesus's words without anybody else's words. Because I know that, hey, if you do not speak, God's word, exactly word for word, and you change one word, you create a lie in God's word. Period. How many times has God's word been rewritten? And each time, more and more guilt is added. I don't blame anybody. They weren't conscious. They were looking at the negative first. But this gal, after I tell her, and she means a lot to me. After I tell her that I was wanting to buy a digital violin, and I was wanting to find a book that had just Jesus' word, no interpretation, just his word, period. That way I could interpret it with my heart by myself. Her family had just turned against her also because of her speaking the truths. She now is on the road, same as me, but she doesn't have the financial backing I have. And trust me, the financial backing that I have, I know I can change the world. But anyway, after I tell her that I'm going to get the violin and a book, she kind of gives me a blank stare. I'm like, what? She goes, I happen to have a digital violin that I haven't really played. So I gave her the money for it. And then the next day I was getting ready to leave. And she came over to give me a hug, as well as a traveling friend that I'll mention in a second. Traveling brother. Kind of like part of me. Anyway, when she showed up, she didn't say anything. But she handed me this. She already had it with her, and she gave it to me. She also was kind enough, she knew that synthetic blankets were making me sweat when I sleep in the vehicle at night. So she gave me a cotton blanket to help me not sweat at night. Now, the gentleman that I'm traveling with, this man dedicated his life to the Department of Human Services, some of the worst area you could imagine. His diligence, his attention to detail, potentially saved a lot of lives. Now granted, years and years of exposure to all that negativity does come at a cost. That cost is loneliness, for one. You know, I see in this elderly gentleman an amazing soul. An amazing soul, though, that is very guarded. I care about him. I love him. You know, I didn't really even want to know his name, because I don't really want to know anybody's name anymore. If I do not know your name, then nobody can tell me a lie about you. Then the only thing I know is our interaction. Because we all know people tend to change other people's words and create lies. How many times has the Bible been rewritten? That's a scary thought. It's not a bad thing, though. Nobody did it intentionally. It goes clear back to caveman days. The carrot and the stick. because a caveman would choose a stick to defend over a carrot to feed, because your very first memory in this life was negative. Whether you're old like I am and you got a spank on the bottom to get you to cry initially, or the first time your mom walked out of the room, or whichever. No one in the world intentionally has been obsessing about the negative. The 10% of the brain has been keeping your physical body alive long enough for you to wake up, for you to gain your consciousness and become one with your God. And guess what? It's all positive. It's all exactly how it's meant to be. And I know how it all goes because it's already been written. And you guys are the ones writing it. You don't believe me? Go back to the beginning of my documentary. Even watch it fast forward. Simply read the titles of the videos. And if you cannot put two and two together of what's happening, that, okay, this is becoming a true story. This is actually becoming a biblical story. As I've started to read this, and the reason why I wanted Jesus' word is because my father has been very adamant about me not possibly knowing what I'm talking about, because he says, I've never even read the Bible. But yet, I knew what God referred to himself as when my father didn't. But I've been reading on this in short spurts, breaks from driving or whatever. Because I'm now, last night was the first night out of Oregon. I was feeling very anxious to get out of Oregon. I am very appreciative that the weather stayed amazing every single day. Once I hit the road, once I decided to sell my home, the weather was amazing every single day. And since yesterday was my first day out of Oregon, I am kind of curious how the weather is in Oregon. If it's changed, if it's any different. I have felt before that the weather changes with how I'm doing. Sure, you can say, oh, grandiose delusion, oh, he's mentally ill, whatever. I have proof. You know, when I'm sad, it rains. When I'm happy or I'm in the knowing, it's sunny. Stop and think about it. You all know that rainy weather makes you depressed. Now stop and think. Maybe your depression, or the depression of the community, is what tends to bring bad weather in. The only reason you would feel that you do not manifest, or society does not manifest the weather, is because somebody told you otherwise. Who? Someone not conscious, I guarantee you that. But as I start reading through this, I have been highlighting the words that I already knew word for word. I've never read this. Honestly, I was anti-religion. I was almost against religion. I was against religion because I've always felt that devout Christians or devout religious people tend to judge more than anybody else in general. I'm not saying everybody. But now stop and think. If you know your Bible, it says the poorest church is the one closest to God. How many poor churches do you know? You know, when I went to the synagogue and they laughed in my face, I looked around. That by no means is a poor church. And what is rather humorous that you will see is right after I did that, I started receiving text messages. And guess what? Guess who the text messages started coming through from? Let's see if I can get this so that you can see it. I started receiving text messages from the Jewish community thanking me for believing in, thanking me for contribution, and then continuing to ask me for more money, using extreme guilt to persuade me to give more money. I can't make this up, people. That is a missile going in the sky. They sent me basically saying Israel's under attack again. Please send money to help us. Come on. How can you guys not see that that is just a little more than coincidence and nothing else? Can't you at least see really bad timing on the Jewish community? Or, hey, if you're one who's just an asshole, at least see the humor in it. All I want you to do is recognize. All I want you to do is wake up. I said in the beginning, I want absolutely nothing from anybody. All I want is for you to love yourself unconditionally, undeservingly, because if you do that, that requires you to do that to everybody else. Otherwise, you're feeling sorry for yourself. It's that simple to wake up. Everything in the Bible tells you this, if you take out the negative. We have wanted to, boy, those leaves. I sure hope you guys zoom in and look at those. And almost look at the sky. Relax your eyes and take in the whole picture. And this is in a motel room, a Super 8 motel room. I've never seen anything like this in a motel room before. And I sure the heck have never seen it move. But hey, who am I? What could I possibly know? And all I want is people ask me questions. And I'll give you the pure 100% truth. But everybody's too scared or too weirded out to even ask questions. So moving forward, to let you guys know, I have decided to, for now, park the Ark and the House of Truths. Now realize I didn't call it the Ark out of making fun, by any means. That's not what this is about. It's about pointing out to you that my Ark is just as real as the Ark you have heard and watched movies about from Noah. And guess what? I plan on doing with my Ark the same thing Noah did with his. Except this time, it's not about the animals. It's about the humans. Anybody who is willing to love themselves, who's willing to step back from their illusion and truly concentrate on loving themselves and loving others, then I will help you. I have decided that I am going to Skid Row without the trailer. I came into the knowing that, you know what, I'm not doing anybody any favors by taking the trailer there. By the way, 18,000 kilowatts of power and all this battery. They would love to have me there. But the truth is, the people who don't want them there, I'm just going to piss them off even more if I do that. And the people who do want me there, I'm going to just make it more comfortable to where they want to stay there. And I don't want that to happen. So I've decided that once I've lived on the street with people in Skid Row, used my body cam and my documentary to give them the opportunity to have a voice. Have them talk to the world. And guess what, world? If you don't want to listen to them, that's your right. Shame on you. But at least they know, even if it's just me, somebody loves them enough to care and to listen to them, because nobody's listening to me. So I'm going to go into Skid Row. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. I'm first going to approach the church out of respect. If they laugh at me or think I'm crazy, then I will go straight to the gang leaders. I will find my way right to them, and I'll tell them the truth. And I'll tell them I want absolutely nothing from them other than to give them some love. Now, granted, there's a possibility it might be a poor choice. I accept the risk. Out of love. How many of you love enough to risk your comfort for another person? Not many. And that's sad. I'm not judging you. My heart hurts. My heart hurts for you. Because I know the more you're attached to your comfort, the further away you are from your God. Oh, and trust me, this is literally black and white. If you're smart, get a copy of it. Don't let anybody interpret it for you. Read it yourself. And if you don't understand what it's reading, move your eyes across the page as quickly as you can. Certain words are going to pop out. That's your truths. I assure you, your brain will pick up on certain words that are going to be the 100% truths that you need to hear at that time. And once you've figured that out, do it again. Read the same area. See if different words pop out. Those are 100% truths. Now you might feel that, wait a minute, if it's only positive, then if Jesus says negative word or negative statements, then wouldn't that be lies? Well, not when it's the truth. And not when it's being told to you out of love. Let's say to save your soul. I've had to point out a lot of negativity. But like I've always said, you recognize the negative. You find the positive. You get the negative to recognize itself. And then it becomes all positive. Positive and positive is the only truth in this world. Let's see. Oh, I'm right at about an hour. I know that chances are a majority of you didn't listen past 5 minutes, and my dashboard will show me. But I just want to let you guys know that I am not mentally ill. I am accessing my entire brain. The gentleman who is on this journey with me, I see the strengths in him, even though he is incredibly OCD. I find the strength in that because he helps keep me grounded, not because I'm freaking bipolar or anything like that. because I receive as much knowing as I want, as quick as I want. But I have to be careful, because if I end up knowing too much, it potentially could make it harder and harder for me to connect with people, because their brain will instantly, just being around me, switch into defense. Like tonight, part of the reason why I chose to be in a motel is not because I'm rude or cranky or anything like that. But I assure you, I'm incredibly intense to be around, because I do not enable. And I find the positive in everything. And if I care about somebody, I'm going to gently keep trying to help them gain their consciousness. And for a brain that's not used to being around that, that's intense and tiring. Therefore, out of love for him and love for myself, because when I'm constantly giving my energy to try to help other people, at times I need to recharge too. You guys, please, wake up. I want nothing from you other than for you to see the truths. And once you truly see the truths in your heart, you start seeing all the lies, and you can realize it hasn't been near as bad as you think it's been. But you needed to experience all the lies in the world so that you can recognize it. I'm going to end for now. Hopefully in a couple days I'll post again. I'll keep you guys posted, and you'll know exactly when I am in Skid Row, because you're going to start hearing the people of the world that are truly the loneliest, the ones that feel that nobody in the entire world cares about them. But I do. I'll go live and eat and be just like them, because I refuse to judge them. Ask yourself the cliche that you've heard before many a times: what would Jesus do? I know what he would do. He would do exactly what I'm doing. He would constantly be on the move to avoid getting crucified again. He would be going to the people that are at biggest risk of ending their own life and ceasing to exist. He would be going to the homeless families that have young kids living on the street, and he would help them first. He would be going to the homeless that have mental illnesses, and he would be helping them. He would give them something to believe in, get them to hang on long enough until Jesus had an opportunity to change the world. You know, ask yourself, why do we not know what Jesus looks like? Why do we not know the dates? Why do we not know really anything? Because someone had to choose to be. Someone had to be willing to sacrifice their life within, let's say, the illusion. Be willing to let their family strip them, me, whoever, of every ounce of good I've achieved within my life. To tarnish it all by saying I'm mentally ill, instead of stepping up and saying, wow, I'm proud of who you are and I'm honored to be part of your family. But I get it. Because you know what? I love you guys. And ironically, this book, Jesus' Only Words, happens to say, to the extent of, if if you allow them to destroy yourself, and then you pick up my cross and carry it for me, you will be one with me. I mean, hey, black and white. No lies there. Now think about that. What if all you have to do to become who you want to be is simply just choose to be and be? Prove me wrong. I got so much proof that proves I'm right. And I don't want to be worshipped by any means. I just want to help whoever's willing to wake up before it's too late. I love you guys, and I assure you I'm not mentally ill. I assure you I have nothing but positivity that I'm trying to achieve. I simply just have unconditional, undeserving love for myself, which requires me to have it for everybody else. I'll talk to you guys later. Or, the illusion is so ass backwards. Wow, you guys, come on. Zoom in and look at the branches. I hope you sleep well.